Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Split Decision. Joined today by me, Taku, and Para to my left or
Me,
right,
Taku, and
whatever
Para, huh?
whatever side it is. Did I say me, Taku, and Para?
Yeah, you did. Anyway.
Damn.
Anyway.
And today we have a very special guest. We got Brendan Teys from the Adelaide 36ers. Welcome to the Split Decision.
Thanks for having me, boys.
No
And
problem.
obviously, before we get straight into it, we've got to mention our sponsors, Cremlon and MHGNY. Cremlon's got some new hoodies coming out soon, so make sure you guys check out the Instagram and keep an eye out for that. And MHGNY's got things brewing, so
They got things
make
wrong.
sure make sure you check out their Instagram. All the links will be in the description. Oh, and make sure you use Taku10 at Cremlon checkout.
Or Tom 10, whatever.
And and also just Instagram, Twitter, and all that goodness. And without further ado, let's get straight into the episode. So, Brendan, our first question for you is: do you remember how old you were when you started playing basketball, or like sort of that first memory you had playing it?
Look, I reckon I probably started playing in under eights. I actually signed up to an association who I won't name, and went to like a little skill session. It must have been a basketball camp or something, and rocked up, and I was just so nervous. I didn't like it at all. And then went to another association and found that to be a lot better experience. But I remember the young days playing on the courts that go across the big basketball court on the low hoops.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure my mum or my older brother had to be there holding my hand while I was running up and down the court. I was just petrified, man. So, they're the earliest memories I have, man.
Right. Was it like growing up in Brisbane? Was there any like specific reason to why you chose basketball?
Well, look, I was actually a pretty decent soccer player growing up when I was little. So thankfully, my parents would drive me from a basketball game in the morning to a soccer carnival all day to then a rep game Saturday afternoon up in Maroochydore, 2 hours drive away or something like that, and then back to the soccer carnival the next day on the Sunday. So, I was doing a lot of back and forth between basketball and soccer. I probably got to about 11 or 12, and I had to make a decision. It was just too much driving for my parents to do. It was too much sport for me. Not only that, on weekends, throughout the week, I'd have all these different trainings on as well. So it got too much. I had to make a decision. It pretty much came down to my pasty skin. So I didn't want to be out in the sun on the soccer field too much. My skin doesn't suit the sun too much, and I didn't like wearing short shorts in soccer.
The long basketball shorts.
That's how I made my decision. Yeah, I played basketball instead of soccer.
What's crazy is I think a couple of people we've actually interviewed all said that they played soccer early on as well. So you see that sort of correlation between soccer and basketball.
Yeah, well, funny you say that. You guys know Cameron Bairstow?
That's not familiar. No.
Played for the Chicago Bulls. He's an Australian. Played for the Chicago Bulls. I think he played for the Brisbane Bullets a few years in the NBL. He played for Australia. He's played for the Boomers. He was one guy that I remember playing soccer against as well. And we were both heads and shoulders above every kid. I actually had to bring my birth certificate to every game because the parents on the other team wouldn't believe it. And Cam was the same. He was a big kid, so no one had played soccer.
He's not 12.
He's not 12. He's like at least 23.
Yeah,
He's gonna be at least 23.
I am 12.
Yeah, that movie. The movie now. Oh my God. But so you mentioned basketball and soccer. Did you play on any other sports growing up?
Not really. I mean, just the stuff for school. Like I played a little bit of, I don't know, touch footy and touch AFL growing up at school, but that was pretty much it. Maybe a bit of cricket here and there, but nothing serious, bro. It was just more soccer and basketball that I signed up for club stuff and played competitively.
All right. So growing up, did you have any like basketball idols that you tried to like model your game after?
Oh, good question. I mean, I'm a huge Kobe fan. He was, yeah. My brother's 10 years older than me, and he kind of introduced me to basketball. So he started the same time I did. When he was in his final year in high school, he started playing, and I was 8 or whatever. So I was in grade 3 or whatever. and he started playing basketball, and he was the one who was out in the backyard and, was shooting hoops or whatever, playing one-on-one, having fun. And that was really where my love of basketball came from, was my brother. And I guess he was a Kobe fan. So naturally I fell in line and I became a Kobe fan, and, kind of watched his game and appreciated his game and wanted to get out there and play like Kobe, I guess.
So,
Like
when you were a kid playing basketball, did you ever hit this like realization, like, oh, this is something I want to do as I get older? I want to make this my profession.
Yeah. I mean, I guess when you're growing up as a kid and you have to sit down at school and write about your goals and dreams, and everyone always writes, yeah, I want to play for Australia, or I want to play in the NBA. But I guess throughout my juniors, I was lucky enough to play for plenty of like state teams and representative teams and stuff like that. So, I knew I had the talent there to really make it. And what's good is I think I had a bunch of coaches along the way to teach me a few things and teach me about work ethic and stuff like that to help me get to where I am today.
All right. Like, other than basketball, did you have any general people that you looked up to, like tried to, become like?
Just back to my brother.
Back to your brother.
We just had fun in the backyard. He was a true role model for me.
Right.
And if there's one guy who I talk about work ethic, it's that guy. He's had more injuries. For a guy who has never played professionally, he's played so many sports and picked up so many injuries just because he's only a little fella. But you know the saying, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, it's about the size of the fight in the dog. That could not ring true with him. So I just like the way he goes about things, and I've always respected him, and he's always been the one in my ear to tell me things that I need to hear, and give me a pat on the bum or whatever when I need it.
Yeah, nice.
That's nice. That sort of brotherly bond as well. It's something different as well.
Yeah, man, it's good.
So, sort of moving on to your junior career, you played with the Southwest Metro Pirates. Sort of, what do you remember about this experience and playing for them?
Man, we were a powerhouse from under 12s. So we play under 12s, under 14s, under 18s. And I won 3 state championships with them growing up. And the year we probably should have won the state championship, we choked. But we had a bunch of great players in that team. We had Cam Bairstow that I mentioned before, who's played for the Boomers. Brock Modem, who's been to Olympics as well. Daniel Vito, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but he's a rugby league player who now is wrestling in the WWE.
Yes.
So when we were kids, we just had so many talented young players, and we just steamrolled other teams. So some of my fondest memories are coming up through juniors, playing at Southwest, winning championships, and then there's just so much drama that goes into it along the way, where like guys will leave your team, and then you just have this vendetta to play against them and beat them at the state championships. And there's just so many rivalries, and we had such a great age group too, man. Like our age group was the year with like Matt Dellavedova and Ryan Brockhoff, and all these guys who've gone on and done big things. So I mean, juniors, like I said, juniors was some of the best years of my life.
Right. So moving on to your professional career, you signed for the Brisbane Bullets as a development player in 2008, but the club folded before the season commenced. What was your reasoning for signing for the Bullets?
For the Bullets?
Yeah.
I was playing state league. It was called QBL back then, I'm pretty sure, or ABA back then. And I was pretty young, like I was still only 18, I think, 17 or 18, but I was playing real well in state league, and Joey Wright actually came to one of the games, just sitting in the stands, and I ended up having 25 or 30 or something that game. Like I had a ripper game. So after that, he came down onto the court and invited me to be a development player with those guys. And from being a kid sitting in the stands watching Bullets games and kind of idolizing guys like CJ Bruton and stuff, to have a chance to go on and play alongside CJ was the first big step where I was like, oh my God, this is crazy, like a kid in a candy store,
So the club did eventually fold. What was sort of that process like when the club was going through that?
Well, look, I wasn't involved too heavily in it. They actually folded just before preseason. So I was lucky enough to kind of have some unofficial scrimmages with a few of those guys. So CJ Bruden, I think Anthony Petrie was coming up then, Chris Golding, all these kind of guys. We just get down and meet at 10 a.m. on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and just scrimmage. So I was participating in a lot of those and having a lot of fun, and like I said, getting to play with these superstars and some guys that I looked up to when I was growing up. But I don't know, I can't really remember. It just kind of diminished after that, and you just read the headlines. Like I said, I wasn't officially signing. I didn't officially sign pen to paper to be a development player just because the season hadn't come around yet. But I was there and I was ready to start the season. It just didn't happen.
Right. So you then signed with the Gold Coast Blaze. Like, was there any reasoning signing with the Blaze?
Yeah, well, I had a year off. So after the Bullets folded, I actually went down to the Gold Coast and tried out with them. But Brendan Joyce was busy he was the coach at the time. Brendan Joyce was busy with national commitments. So he actually wasn't there to see me try out. But at the time then, they had like Perry Cameron and Shane Heal and stuff like that. So I went down and scrimmaged with them a few times in front of the assistant coach at the time. But he wasn't really in a position to make any calls while Brendan Joyce was away. And by the end of it, Brendan Joyce was back, partway through preseason, and they'd already said, like, these are the development players we have. We don't have time to look at anyone else. We've already signed these guys. This is who we're comfortable with. So I ended up having basically a year off where I was kind of like a scrawny little 17, 18-year-old and just decided to put on a little bit of size. So I just got in the gym and then went to workouts by myself and just really tried to improve there. And then the next year, Joey Wright took over as the head coach, and obviously he wanted me in Brisbane. So when he got the job in the Gold Coast, he was more than happy to have me down there.
So then you played for the Blaze for 3 seasons. What was that sort of like your first proper exposure to the NBL like and playing in the NBL?
Yeah, well, my first season playing with the Blaze, I probably played, I don't know, I think it was something like a minute the whole season. So I was just sitting on the bench, waving the towel, paying my dues, I suppose. But we had some great players that year, like Chris Goldings, James Harvey, Petrie, Gibbo. We had a couple of good imports that year. So I was just kind of taking it all in. I remember just being a, timid little 18-year-old. And I'll tell you something, I was so timid that, how there's like friendly banter going around. If there was friendly banter thrown around, I'd kind of like be real nervous. I would not go and get a haircut until Adam Gibson or Anthony Petrie got a haircut. Because if I walked in with a haircut, they would be like, they'd throw out something like, you got an army, you got your ears lowered or something. I'd be like, yeah. So I wait till they got a haircut before I got one, because then we'd all be in the same boat, And it was just silly things like that, man. I was just so nervous, just such a timid little kid. But yeah, like I said, I played probably 1 minute that first season, but just really paid my dues, just watched how the pros did it. And then the following season, James Harvey got injured. So I ended up playing a little bit more, a few minutes per game, which was an unreal experience. And then the third year after that, James Harvey unfortunately got injured again, which was lucky for me because then I got elevated into that spot. He had a long-term injury. He had a broken hand, and I think he did his calf. So pretty long-term injury. So I got elevated into the full-time roster and ended up playing, 10 minutes a game in our semi-final series against Perth. So really progressed from that first year to the third year.
Right. Was there I
just want to say one thing. So you hear about like the NBA, how they do like rookies have their rookie duties. Was that sort of the same thing when you were at the Blaze?
Yeah, man, it definitely was. But the lucky thing is for me, I was kind of a reserve. I still am kind of a reserved, quiet, flew under the radar kind of guy. So I didn't really get I guess, picked on for rookie duties. I was lucky that we had Jason Kadee on the team at the same time, and I was a development player. He was contracted in the 10, so he was a true rookie. But he's just like he's a little pest. I love Jace to death. He's just a little pest, man. Like he'll pop up and he's the guy who's yapping in your ear here and yapping in your ear there. So those guys like love to hang, carry my bags, rookie, do this, rookie, do this, rookie. So they had no problems getting Jace to do things. And there was even an ongoing joke where because I was traveling a lot on the road because I ended up getting elevated into the roster or whatever, that Gibbo and those guys would make me tell Jace to carry my bags. I'd be like, hey, rookie, tell me to carry my bags. And they made me do it. And so that was kind of like a little joke we had. So I was fortunate that Jace was on the team and I kind of flew under the radar a little bit.
So did you have like a best memory or like your favorite memory, like when you were at the Blaze?
Favorite memory. Actually, it was probably in my second year, the year where I was in the 10 for a period of time. I was playing a few minutes per game. And when I was younger, I still do. I really prided myself on defense. And I saw that, we had the Chris Goldings, the Jason Kadees, the Adam Gibsons, the James Harveys, like all these superstars, 2 imports or whatever, all these superstars who could go out and get buckets. But I tried to differentiate myself. I was like, look, I probably can't get buckets as good as Chris Golding can, but I can damn sure like work harder and play better defense than him. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna make that my niche. I'm gonna play better defense than everybody. And then when they need me for that, that's when I can sub on, right? I'm not gonna try to outscore Chris Golding. So there was this one game I hadn't played all game. I'm playing against the New Zealand Breakers. And remember I told you before, CJ Bruton, like when I grew up, I was idolizing CJ Bruton. He played for the Bullets. So I was the dude the little kid in the 4th row going like, man, I love this guy. Like, look at his cool afro. Like, so we're playing against New Zealand Breakers, tied ball game. There's like 10 seconds to go. I hadn't played all game. Joey goes, Teasy, sub in. I was like, what do you mean sub in? Like, 10 seconds to go. Like, it's a tied ball game. And he's like, all right, you got CJ. And CJ was like known as like a closer, clutch, like, could hit threes, draw foul. He was known as the man pretty much. This was in the middle of him winning championship after championship. So I like walk out onto the court and I'm, dropping nuts basically. I'm nervous as hell. CJ looks at me and gives me like this kind of smile because he's a cheeky dude too. So he's like kind of giving me a smile like this guy's got me, like who's this guy? And I can't remember what happened. Whoever shot it wasn't CJ. Whoever shot it ended up missing the shot. It went to overtime. I didn't play any of overtime. I can't remember who won, but that was just a memory that I had where I like go into the court, tie ball game. And I had to guard CJ Bruton and stop him from scoring. So that was kind of a real cool moment for me.
Oh, that's actually insane. Wow. So I'm just thinking like CJ's looking like, oh, that's barbecue chicken.
Barbecue chicken alert.
Man, I don't know what was going on, but it worked in our favor that day, which was good.
So and then unfortunately, following the 2012-13 NBL season, the Blaze folded. What was sort of like going through that process again, but it was sort of like from a different position?
Yeah, it was a little bit different perspective. So I was kind of in the loop this time. And I guess you kind of sitting there like hoping, because like I said, year 1 hardly played, year 2 played a bit more, year 3 I was playing 10 minutes a game in the semifinals. So like a integral part of the team. So it was probably the following year where I would have been offered a full-time contract, like my first full-time contract, going up, being elevated from a development player to a full-time NBL player. And so that was the time where I was like, I was just reading the papers, reading the news articles on my phone or whatever, and just being like, come on, like, someone buy the club, real nervous. Like, if someone buys the club, like, I have a job, So, like, looking around, like, there's going to be someone out there, like, real nervous. And, but I guess you just got to kind of let things outplay the way that they're going to outplay. And control the things you can control. So I was just in the gym working hard and getting shots up, working on my game while I was all going forward. And yeah, they just ended up folding. Unfortunately, the owners there couldn't run the load anymore and ended up folding. But yeah, that's just the way things go.
Yeah, unfortunately. So after the Blaze, you signed with the Townsville Crocodiles. Was there any like process behind signing for them?
Yeah, actually, so Joey again. So that obviously it means Joey was out of the league, right? There's no Blaze, there's no jobs for him. So he linked me up with Wollongong. He was friends with Gordon McLeod, so he got me a workout in Wollongong. And then I don't remember how Townsville came about. I just kind of sent messages, sent emails, tried to link up with all the coaches and be like, hey, can I come for a workout? This and that. It was just basically free agency. I didn't really have an agent at the time. I had an agent helping me out. At the time, a lot of rosters were pretty full. So you got to think that there's 10 guys who are playing for the Blaze who now have to trickle into other teams. So that's 10 less spots. 10 less spots because the Blaze aren't no more, but also 10 less spots again because those 10 guys are trickling into other teams. So the market was pretty saturated at the time. But yeah, I don't know. I can't really remember how Townsville happened, but I was lucky enough to go there, and that was a good experience as well.
Yeah.
So moving on to your Adelaide 36er career now. So you left the Townsville Crocodiles and moved to the Adelaide 36ers. What was that process from like moving from Townsville to Adelaide like?
Yeah, well, first of all, I enjoyed my time in Townsville. The trainings up there were a little bit different where we trained every day, so it was rarely a rest day, only after games. And the trainings were real short, so it was hard as a development player to sub into scrimmages because none of the guys were tired because the sessions were so short. So, I was getting there real early before training, staying, the longest after trainings, working hard in the gym, all that sort of stuff, just hoping that, I'll get another shot at making a full-time roster. And then the Townsville season finished, and I was back to, after playing 10 minutes of gaming against Perth in the semi-finals, like I've been saying, I went back to playing like a minute and a half the whole season when we're up by 30 against who knows who it was. So, it was kind of a hard experience. I was lucky that I could stay with family friends up in Townsville. I was actually going from trainings to working in the cinemas up there. So I don't know if you guys have been to Townsville, but imagine like 35 degrees, muggy. Because I'm a sport, right? So 35 degrees, muggy. I'm going from training, so I've lost kilos of sweat, and then I go into the cinemas and wear like long slacks, a long sleeve shirt, and walk up and down the stairs cleaning popcorn and stuff like that. So I was, I'd walk up and down the stairs in the middle of a movie just to check if people don't have their feet on seats or whatever. I was like cramping up and down the stairs trying to be quiet, like, but I just had to make ends meet doing that. And then after that season, Joey obviously got the job in Adelaide, and he was the one who would have given me my first full-time contract in the Blaze had they not folded. So the way it worked out was there was a points system back then, so there wasn't a salary cap, but there was a point system. So you could have a limit of 70 points per team or something, and imports were counted as 10 points. Like Australian boomers were counted as 9 points. Guys coming out of college with 3 points, and development players were 1 point. So Adelaide only had like 2 points left on their roster or whatever, and I was a 1 point player. So obviously my time with Joey on the Gold Coast, and the fact that they didn't have enough points left to sign anyone other than a nobody, than a DP basically.
Yeah.
That was kind of the reason why I was lucky enough to get my first shot in Adelaide, I think.
So one question about the point system. So like, if a player elevates from like just a contract player to like a Boomers player, Does the point system change the following season?
Yeah, I think it changed the following season. It's not around anymore because
Okay.
it kind of forced players out of the league. So we had guys who were 6-point players or whatever who couldn't fit into teams because of their points rating, which kind of forced them out of the league. Like there was no room for them in the league. So since then, it's changed from the point system to a salary cap system, which is way better for everyone. It just keeps it kind of even, but doesn't force guys out of the league. But yeah, it did change from, say I made the Boomers in the off season. I would go from a 3-point player to a 9-point player or whatever it was in the off season, and it counted towards next year.
Yeah, I've seen something like that before in our football league. So in the senior team, where it's like every player, so a new player that's first year in the seniors is like 5 points, and then every year that you play at that club, you go down to like 1 point. Like you eventually go down to 1 point. I've seen things like that before.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like it's kind of like that in the Queensland State League too.
Yeah, it's a good. I don't mind the system, but it can be stuffed up pretty easily. If it's not done well.
Yeah, it's a lot easier just with a soft salary cap like we have now.
Yeah, exactly. So, what's your favorite memory being playing for the 36ers up to date?
I've been in 2 grand final series now, so they're hard to bet against, I suppose. But there was this one game we're playing against Melbourne Tigers in the semi-final in my first year, I think 2013, and there was an incident that happened between Chris Goulding and Gary Irvin the game before, and so Gary was our import, so Gary was suspended. And I think this was game 3 back in Adelaide, so we had to win to go to the grand final. Our import, one of our best players, was suspended, and it's not actually an on-court moment, but when we ran out of the tunnel to get introduced, so like, oh, here comes the Adelaide 36ers or whatever, and we ran out of the tunnel, the roar from the crowd is just something that I'll remember forever. And then seeing them run out of the tunnel and just the noise that the crowd made when they ran out of the tunnel, it was just, I haven't heard any arena like that since. It was just something that stuck with me. It wasn't really an on-court moment, but just the sound of the crowd in a big game like that, it was just unreal.
Yeah.
That's insane. I've always dreamed just you're running down, you hear your name, it was just
it was crazy, man. And because just the incident, and the media played up the incident, and so all our fans were just crazy, ravenous, ready to go and get stuck in, and they sure did that game. That was one of the loudest games I've had.
So you were named the captain of the 30. You've been named of the captain of the 36ers 2 times now. What does this sort of mean to you, being named the captain of the team?
It's been great, man. I don't think people realize how much goes into it off the court. I think a lot of fans think that we just rock up on a Saturday, roll the basketball out, and start playing ball, but there's just so much more that goes into it behind the scenes. You got to think you have 10 guys on each team, all different personalities, from all different backgrounds, different countries, who are all, in a pecking order, I suppose. So I want to play more than you, so I'm gonna, I don't know, if I want to, I can spread toxicity about you. I can talk trash about you behind your back. I can do this. I can do that. There's just so much that goes on behind the scenes, and have a team of good guys as well as talented basketball players, I think goes a long way to winning a championship. I think you'll find throughout the years, take the Perth Wildcats, for example. They're not always the most talented players, but they know exactly what they're supposed to do on the court. They all accept their roles, and just the camaraderie that you see with those guys takes them to another level. And add in superstar players like Casey Prater, Bryce Cotton, all these kind of guys. But for the most part, just the camaraderie and stuff that goes on. So to be elevated as captain was it was very special for me. I've always prided myself on being that guy who I'm kind of easygoing, so I'm easy to talk to. Guys can let me know their problems. I'll try to, solve fires there, like little fires and stuff there. But yeah, like I said, people just don't understand the stuff that goes on behind the scenes to try to hold it all together, especially when you got, another thing, one guy's made millions of dollars throughout his career, another guy's made, not a whole lot, just enough to get by. You got to try to get those guys to work together in a situation, and one of them not to big time the other one, and there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes, man. So it's something that is a tough task to do, but something that I enjoy doing, and it's been fun for me, and I think I've done a pretty good job of it over the years.
Yeah. So you were also the 2019-2020 season 36ers Defensive Player of the Year. What did that award mean to you?
Like I said, from real early on, that's how I tried to separate myself from these other players. Like in state league and stuff, like I'm a scorer. I go out there and I'm a scorer. I try to get buckets. I was 2 years ago now in the South Australian League. I was top scorer of the league throughout the season. I got a little trophy downstairs. But I'm a natural scorer. But the way I saw it is, I can score. I can go and get buckets, but I can't score as good as Jerome Randall. I can't score as good as Daniel Johnson. So if I can get them the ball as much as possible because they're better at scoring, and I just knuckle down and play defense as hard as I can because I know they can't play defense as good as me. So I tried to really make that my niche from really early on. And I think every year that I've been playing in the NBL, I've been in the top 2-3 defensive players on every team that I've been on. We had guys like Mitch Creek, who was an unbelievable defender. Nathan Sobey, who's, up and in. Just, I can't match that athleticism, man. So he's just naturally a better defender than me. So these are all the guys that have. Adam Gibson's another one. These guys are just guys who are also naturally gifted defenders. So I think I've always been in the top 2-3 defensive players, but to actually finally break through and become the Adelaide 36ers Defensive Player of the Year was very, very special for me.
Yeah, right.
So so you've won a couple things throughout your career now, and you've done some amazing things. But for the remainder of your career, do you have any sort of goals that you've set that you want to achieve?
I mean, first things first, I want to win a championship somewhere. I don't want to go throughout my career and not win a championship. I'd like to continue playing for another, 3 years. 3 years is probably the time limit that I've put on where I'm that's I'm feeling good right now. I'm probably in the best physical form of my career, which has been great. I spent a lot of time last off season trying to lose a few pounds, just for longevity. It's better for your knees, better for your ankles and stuff like that. And I think it paid dividends last season. And it's been no different this off season, just working on my body a little bit. So yeah, hopefully play another 3 years, win a championship in that time. But yeah, I've got two young daughters right now who, it's funny that they've kind of taken over priority. So, I love the game of basketball. And wouldn't change anything for the world, but they kind of step up in your list of priorities. So whatever's best for them. And it was funny, I'd always see NBA players or NBL players or even other codes, footy players or whatever, be like, I've still got another few years in me, and I'm probably in the top peak form of my career, but I have a little girl at home, and I want to spend more time with her. And I'll always be like, what? You're earning millions of dollars playing footy. Why do you want to hang out with your kid? Now that I have 2 kids of my own, and you guys will know, if you ever have kids or whatever, you'll know the day that they're born, you're going to be like, wow, this is the best thing ever. And I don't know, it's just all your priorities change. But,
yeah.
So, just kind of raising them to be the best they can be is a huge priority for me right now. But, I'd like to play another 3 or 4 years and definitely win a championship. That's the next thing on my list.
That's amazing. Kara, when we get kids, we're going to have to be out of this podcast game.
Yeah. Nah, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
We'll sort something out. So, so moving on, we had some sorry, we get some of our followers to ask us some questions, but this one's from us too, and it's I mean, I feel like we already know what your answer is going to be, but it's pretty important to us too, and there's only like one right answer.
No, two. There's two.
Two
correct
right
answers.
answers.
There's two correct answers.
Who is your NBA GOAT?
I said earlier that I'm a Kobe fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I kind of caught the back end of the Jordan era. But I can honestly say all I've seen from Jordan is highlights. So I can't really make an informed decision on him. But in my time, I gotta say Kobe.
Yeah, fair enough. I can accept that. We both can accept that. We're both agreed that Kobe is top 3 guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
100%.
everyone knows the top 3, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just it's who you have at the top of the mountain.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm just gonna have to lock in Kobe just because he was more my era than Jordan was, and I think it's between those two.
See, I think Kobe's closer to LeBron's era, so we're gonna take that as a LeBron as well on the counter. Taku.
Yeah.
No, we're not. You've got if this is the timeline, you've got like Jordan, LeBron, and then Kobe's like sort of in the middle, and he intersects the both of them.
Both.
And what the funny thing is, whenever you ask like an NBA player who's played against like Kobe and LeBron, they always say Kobe, or who's played against like Kobe and Jordan. They say like Kobe is the closest thing to Jordan. So hey,
it's true. It is true. But like he's closer to Jordan.
Case for everything.
Anyway, moving
on. So you've sort of talked about the little behind the scenes that fans don't see, but what are some other things that like pro athletes sort of do or go through that the fans wouldn't necessarily know about?
Damn, that's a bit of a heavy question. Yeah, look, I think you just got to understand that we're all real people. We go through the same life struggles that everyone else goes through. We just don't have Joey would always say it to us. When we retire, no one's gonna sit at the printer when we're sitting at a desk at work and we print out a file on the computer. No one's gonna be standing at the printer going like, "Yeah, good job, well done." Like, no one's gonna clap and cheer for us once we retire. So, in saying that, we're also in the limelight. So, you can imagine someone of 10,000 people at a game, however many more watching on TV or whatever, streaming it, kind of looking over your shoulder, watching your every move when you're at work. It's not easy to do. And like I said, you got to understand that we're real people. We go through real struggles. Some guys might have, a fight with their girlfriend the night before a game, and they got to rock up and perform on the day. Otherwise, they get backlash from fans on social media and people talking trash. I actually saw this goes on to mental health stuff, but what really flipped the switch to me, like everyone goes through it. Everyone always sees, oh, he sucks. Like why is he playing? Or he's a grub or stuff like that. It doesn't matter who you are. LeBron James cops more hate than anyone else I know.
Yeah.
Just because he's the best player in the world right now, So it doesn't matter who you are. And I would always like take those things to heart. Like I want to be liked by people. So when I read that stuff online and on social media, I'm like, oh, he doesn't like me. Why doesn't he like me? I don't know who it is. But I'm like, oh, why doesn't he like me? I want to be liked by everybody. But kind of like the moment for me, I don't know if I'm allowed to, am I allowed to swear on here? Or
you're allowed to swear.
So we just beat Perth in the semifinals in 2018 or whatever. The year that we made the grand final, we lost in the grand final to United. But we were in the vans on the way home from the game, and Josh Childress was on our team, and he was, in my opinion, one of, if not the best player in the league at the time. And he got a message from a Perth supporter that said, "I hope you land on your fucking neck and die." And he read this out in the van. And I was like, man, like he gets hate messages like that too. He's the nicest guy, one of the nicest guys going around, one of the best players in the league, and he gets messages like that. It's just so accessible for athletes these days, or for people to talk to athletes and message athletes and post on social media and stuff like that. So if you're ever thinking about sending a bad tweet or a bad comment on social media or something, just think again, because we're all real people, and it affects every single one of us. Doesn't matter how good we are or how much we've accomplished in our careers.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's human.
And I think that we've learned that a lot, like talking to athletes. But I mean, Nikola Jokic.
It's just because he destroyed Minnesota.
I'm still hating on Nikola Jokic no matter what. Pain.
Just not to that extent. Just not to that extent.
That shot hurts me every time.
It's left a dagger in his heart. Every day I'm just like so happy about that Nikola Jokic shot. And it just doesn't speak to me for the rest of the day.
Yeah, they sucked in. He's making millions, and look at us.
I'm dwelling on it.
Yeah. Come back, Katie. Come back to OKC, please. Anyway, moving on. So, moving on quickly. Do you still get nervous about games?
Yeah, I can still get nervous. It just depends. It ebbs and flows. I guess it kind of depends on form and preparation, like how you're feeling personally. I think it's all inside like my own head, or everyone's own head, whether you put that pressure on yourself or how nervous you are, but half the time I'm just nervous. Hopefully win this game, or I know we're running suicides next week. No, I still get a little bit nervous before games, just kind of overthinking things. I like to be more in the moment, in the situation, instead of thinking, oh, what if this happens, or what if this happens. I like to be a little bit more in the moment. I think that's where my nervousness comes from. And like I said, some games I'm not nervous at all. Some games I'm a little bit nervous. Some games I'm real nervous. It just ebbs and flows. But I think it depends on your preparation. If you're feeling good about yourself, then you're generally not pretty nervous. You're just ready to go out there and get things done.
Do you have any sort of like pre-game or like specific like superstitions that you go through before a game?
Man, I used to have a few. I used to eat pasta the night before a game, come home from shoot around, eat this, have a nap for this long, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, I've had kids now, so I can't really pick and choose. They're my priority. So if they want to keep me up the night before, whatever, if I don't need to have a nap anymore because they're running around injured, hurt, sick, or tired or whatever, then I got to tend to them first. But usually, 99% of the time I'll have a game day nap after shoot around, and 100% of the time I'm going to shower before a game. So like shower before I leave. I can't just shower just before I leave for the game, or even shower at the arena sometimes if I have to. Like you won't see me showering in the morning or whatever, waiting all day and just get changed and going. It has to be just before. That's probably one thing of mine. I have to get that.
One thing we have on here that we keep on going on about is don't sleep on sleep. The pre-game nap is the most vital key before a game. Like it's 100%. Essential to everyone. The 100%. Pre-game nap.
Yeah,
it has to happen.
Couldn't agree more. And like I said, I'll 99% of the time have a nap, and I only won't have a nap if the kids are acting crazy.
It's a fair reason.
I did not think you were going to say that, but
don't sleep on sleep. Don't sleep on sleep. So when you're not playing basketball, what else do you like to do?
Well, I like to play a few video games. So I get on Fortnite. Fortnite's a good way for, I'm not very good at it, but it's a good way for me to kind of connect with all my mates. Like my best friend Brock Motor, he plays basketball in Spain right now, and I can jump on him and play Fortnite with him and just put the headphones on and talk some trash with him. There's guys around the league who I've played with or played against who we all get on and play with each other and just talk smack. But generally, I'm just on there talking trash and having a bit of fun, and I don't care if I get a victory royale or whatever. I'm just on there talking trash and having fun. But then if I'm not doing that, I used to hate reading growing up, but I started getting to reading like business books and kind of learn how you can make money and learn about finances and stuff like that. I used to hate reading, man, but I'm starting to find that stuff really interesting. But majority of my time is just hanging out with the family, hanging out with the kids and my wife and stuff. That takes up a lot of time these days, especially I've just got a 6-week-old little bubba now. So you guys are pretty fortunate that thank you, that the little toddler hasn't broken into the room. So my wife's probably stressed downstairs trying to keep her down there and keep her quiet. But yeah, most of my time's just spent hanging out with them, and that's what I really enjoy in life right now. And yeah, that's where my energy's at.
Oh, that's fun.
Nice.
And our final question for you: do you have any advice for sort of a young Australian kid who's looking to go pro in basketball or any sport in the future?
You know, I always say, have fun. If you're not having fun in anything in life, it's not just sport. If you're not having fun, then it's probably not for you, and you should go and find something else to do. Because for me, basketball is fun. I like going down to the stadium and getting shots up. I like going to the weight room and lifting weights. It's hard work, but the hard work is fun for me. And I know some people it's not fun for, like, you have to drag them out of bed to go and work out. You have to drag them out of bed to go lift weights, or, you know, I don't want to do bench press today, so I'm just going to, you know, bludge, or whatever. But because it's fun for me, I like getting out there and doing it. I like working hard. I like improving. And like I said, that's with anything in life. So I think the most important thing is to have fun. And if you're not having fun in doing it, then find something else to do.
That's some great advice to end
That
on.
is some amazing advice to end on. And Brendan, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We really enjoyed having you. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for checking it out. Make sure you check out Apple Podcasts. That's all I always forget that. At five stars on Apple Podcasts, Bits, Instagram, everything in the description. And thank you so much for joining us. And we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, next week, hopefully. Peace.